In this session, we will discuss what is container orchestration engine and why it is required. So, container runtime is going to manage the container lifecycle for single host. So, if a host, a Linux machine is there, a virtual machine, on top of that container runtime is installed, it can go and manage the container onto that particular host only. Across host container runtime cannot go and manage the container lifecycle. In the PPT presentation, I'm using Docker as an example, but this is the limitation for the complete container runtime. So Docker run, or you can say the container runtime run single instance onto the single host. So it means if I'm running only managing the container using the container runtime, I will not have the scaling, load balancing, and clustering feature will be available for me. So container across cluster is the limitation. And for that reason, we need something called COE. That is stand for Container Orchestration Engine. And we have multiple solutions available for that, some such as Mesosphere, Docker Swarm, and Kubernetes. Okay, so need of container orchestration engine. Why we need it? Because a container runtime is limited to the single host. When we discuss about the production grade solution, I need load balancing, I need high availability, auto scaling. All this thing is required replication. So container runtime is not capable to provide that in solution. So for that reason, if I want to go and orchestrate it, I will be using container orchestration engine. So Docker Compose is also one of solution is available. Those who are familiar with Docker Compose, but Docker Compose is also create the complete stack into the single host. That also cannot go across multiple hosts. So COE Kubernetes is a COE, Container Orchestration Engine. What we need it for set up the Kubernetes. So in layman term, Kubernetes is a tool management tool which can go and manage the pool of server where the container runtime is running. So these each color is representing a virtual machine. Each virtual machine is running Docker, and that particular Docker instance has the container runtime. So they are managing the container runtime. Now Kubernetes will be managing this pool of server, and it will be controlling the container runtime. It will be telling the container runtime which container has to be spawned, where exactly it has to spawn. All these things Kubernetes will be doing it for you. Okay, so Kubernetes is the management tool for that. What we need, we have a pool of server. Manually, we cannot go and manage the load balancing, auto scaling, and all these things manually. Manually, it is not possible. So rather than sending the request to the individual host, what we are going to do it, we are going to set up something like that where one virtual machine where we will set up the COE, and in our session we will be setting Kubernetes for that. Other virtual machines where we will be setting up container runtime. And now Kubernetes will be taking the request and follow up the things that okay where exactly the container should spawn it. It will be taking the healthcare of the containers. It will be taking care of other stuffs such as replicas and deployment and other storage, everything. So Kubernetes will be taking care of that thing. So that is what exactly we are going to do it. Why Kubernetes? Because it is developed by robust, many features are there. First of all, best thing is it is a API based solution. So it is API driven solution developed by Google. Internal project name was Borg. Okay. And now it is open source and maintained by CNCF. CNCF is Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So they are managing it. Okay. So Kubernetes is an open source container management tool. Kubernetes has the capability of automating the deployment and scaling of application and operations of application container across cluster, capable of creating a container centric infrastructure. So currently what you're seeing it, if you're using VMware or AWS, we are creating the virtual machine. It's a host centric approach where we are creating the virtual machine. Inside the virtual machine, we are deploying the applications. But now instead of deploying the virtual machine to run the application, we will be spawning the container, and that container will be running your application. So this is the container centric approach. You are, whenever you talk about scale up or scale down, auto scaling or replication, you will be spawning the container for that. Okay, so that is the container centric approach. Kubernetes is an orchestration framework which deploy container in the unit of called pod. So we'll discuss in detail that what is pod, why it is required, and all this thing. Okay, so these are the Kubernetes architecture which we will discuss in the follow-up session. Just summarize the things. Kubernetes is a management tool which can go and manage the pool of server where each server is running the container runtime. Your request, whenever you want to create a container or you want to spawn a container, your request will be shared with container orchestration engine, and then it will connect to the container runtime and spawn the container for you. Kubernetes is the API driven approach. It has the API specified. They have the API created for each and every component, which we will discuss it. They have inbuilt API server will be coming with the COE engine, which we will discuss when we will discuss architecture, how this thing works and how the setup will be done. Okay, thank you everyone. Let's connect to the next session and we will discuss about the Kubernetes master component and worker node component. Thank you.